All right, everyone. So whether you are going for the Legendary Fusion Rotos, whether you're just going for some of the Epics or the Rares, I wanted to give you guys a mid-event update on what we have going on in-game right now, because we're kind of at that period that I like to call the pinnacle or the peak, where we have the most events running all at the same time, and this is a very easy time to get extremely overwhelmed in Raid Shadow Legends just because there's so much stuff going on. Very important to know how to manage not only your resources but also your time, so that you don't accidentally forget about one of these events and then realize that you don't have the components to complete the fusion. So when you count in the actual tournament that we have going on as well, we have 4 events in the events page, and then we have 1 tournament, which is the Ice Golem tournament, for a total of 5 events running at the same time. I went through the calendar and took a look. This is the most number of events that we are going to be running at the same time, with maybe the exception of a couple of hours of overlay when one event is just ending and the next is just starting. But besides that, we should see roughly around 5 events at the maximum throughout this Valentine's Fusion. Now, there are still some important events coming up, but I would definitely say some of the most important events are running along right now. And let's take a look and see what we have, because now we only have about 5.5 days left on the champion training event. And this is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the most overwhelming event for the Valentine's Fusion. It is absolutely insane. It feels like the rewards are very underwhelming for the amount of points that you need to get. And as you guys can see, even with the champion training event being about halfway through, I'm only at 1,500 points. So I have an insane amount of work left to do. And if you take a look at the rewards, it's definitely underwhelming. Just a legendary book, an epic book, a couple of gems. The reason why you're going to need to do this event is because you need these champions for the fusion if you decide to go for it. So you're looking at a minimum of 18,575 points required, even if you decide to skip out on the epic and the legendary book. So if you guys are behind like I am, this is definitely a period of time to know you might have to pick up the pace if you're going for Rotos. If not, then enjoy taking some time off of the insane grind that is the champion training event, because this one is just absolutely crazy. Alright, next up we have the Arena Assault, which actually just started very recently, and this event is a little bit of a surprise, because when you take a look at it, you'll see that you only actually need 150 points. I've already actually completed the Arena Assault on the first day, but when you take a look at the rewards, you'll see it is very, very basic. You only have some energy, some silver, and the champion that you need for the fusion. So there are some mixed opinions. I would say generally a lot of people are more positive about this, considering the Arena Assault events have been known in the past to be extremely overwhelming ever since they nerfed the amount of points that you get. It used to be that you got more points for gold medals and silver medals, but now all the medals give you the same number of points. So you can only get 4 points per win. I guess technically 5 if you're in platinum, but for most people, 3 to 4 points per arena victory. And before, when you needed something like 750 points in order to complete the event, it was very overwhelming. So now you have 5 full days in order to get the 150 points, which will get you that fusion champion as well as some bonus energy and silver as well. So don't have to go too crazy thinking about this one. This one should definitely be a walk in the park. Next up, we have the Artifact Enhancement event, which also started recently, and I love the Artifact Enhancement events. You guys know that these have been coming back ever since there was a major problem where they used to cause major server instability issues, although we've been having major server instability issues in Raid anyway, so hard to even say if it's the Artifact Enhancement events, but that's what they were saying for the longest period of time. And as you guys can see, this is another one of the big ones. The last one that we had was only 3,500 points, but this one is back up to 6,500 points. So it is a beefy one, but you have almost 4 days to complete it. Hopefully you've been saving up some silver. You do have a fusion champion that you are going to need here if you are going for Rotos, but also the rewards outside of the fusion champion for this Artifact Enhancement event are relatively decent as well. You've got some energy, some gems, you've even got a Void Shard, a legendary book, and some extra stuff like some brews and a rare book experience boost as well. So this is one of the ones where I always like to save my artifacts for the Artifact Enhancement events. If you play the game a decent amount, you should be able to save a reasonable amount of silver for these events. Always great to get additional efficiency. If you enhance outside of these events, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Especially if it's really going to be helping out your account progress. But if you have the silver, if you do wait around for these enhancement events, they definitely have been showing up way more frequently over the last, I would say, 2 months or so. Before, very rare to see these because of the problems that they were causing. I think there was about a 4-month time period in the game where we didn't have a single artifact enhancement event. That's definitely not the case. So it's safe to say, save up your silver for these ones because they will be making many comebacks in the future. We also have a Dungeon Divers event going on as well. This one started a couple of days ago, and the great thing about the Dungeon Divers event is you actually end up getting points not only from actual dungeons, but you can end up getting points even from the artifacts that you end up getting from the campaign as well. So you can kind of pick and choose how you want to go about completing this event. And hopefully, while you're working on all the different dungeon tournaments, whether you're working on the campaign, farming for the champion training event, whatever aspect of the game that you are working on should still be working on at least some progress towards this Dungeon Divers event. And I know we're already at least a couple of days through this. It's a 3,500 point one, which seems to be the standard. And you do end up getting a fusion champion, Runic Warder. He's not one of the newer champions, though. So if you already have this guy, you might be able to skip out. But like the Artifact Enhancement event, you also have some decent rewards here outside of that Fusion Champion. So you got that Legendary book, you got that Void book, and you got some gems, an Ancient Shard, Experience Boost, and some other stuff as well. So the good thing about these events, at least a lot of them, is even if you aren't going for the Fusion Champions, even if you're not going for the Rares, the Epics, Rotos, if you decide, I don't want to get a single one of these champions during the fusion. I just don't care. I just want the other rewards and the events. A lot of these are pretty decent. The exception really seems to mostly be that champion training event, where the amount of points that you need for the rewards that you get, this one really is just all about those fusion champions. Outside of that, it absolutely is not going to be worth going 30,000 points for one legendary book, one epic book, a few gems, and an ancient shard, and a couple of rare skill books. Absolutely not. But the other ones have some pretty good stuff outside of the actual champions themselves. We also have an Ice Golem tournament going, and these tournaments, right as the Ice Golem tournament ends, there's going to be another dungeon tournament. I believe it's going to be for Fire Knights next. It might be for Dragon, though. So we've got the Ice Golem going on, which ends the 19th. Then the next one that starts up is going to be the Dragon Tournament, which starts on the 20th, ends on the 22nd. And then we have the Fire Knights Tournament, which starts on the 23rd and ends on the 24th. So each of the different dungeons is going to have a tournament running. They're not going to be overlap, though. So depending on what tournament is going on for what dungeon, you're going to have to decide what to run there. I know for the actual champions, they all do have a fusion champion. However, the Fire Knights tournament has a new fusion champion, Coffin Smasher, which definitely seems to be pretty decent. Now, I didn't actually mention him in the last video, but he's definitely going to be a solid rare champion for those of you guys who are newer and still don't have somebody who kind of fits the role that he is willing to fit. So he's got a 3-skill kit here. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 15% chance, which you can boost with skill books all the way up to 30%. So with 3 hits, that's a pretty solid chance of actually applying that decrease attack debuff right there. It's also the strong version, the 50% one. It's 2 turns, and importantly, this champion is an HP scaling champion. So he's not attack based, which means when you build this guy up, he's not only going to get more defensive, but he's also going to gain quite a bit of additional damage as well. He has a second skill, attacks what enemy has a 50% chance, which you can boost up to 65% with skill books, of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. HP burn is similar to poison, a little bit different, generally considered to be a bit stronger. The only thing is you cannot stack HP burn like poison. You can only actually apply it once, so you don't need to have a bunch of champions on your team with HP burn. That's just going to be a waste, but this guy will fill that role right there. And he also has a passive, decreases the damage enemies inflict with AoE attacks by 5%. So definitely a unique skill kit with that HP burn and that decreased attack. Fills a couple of roles that you might be looking to fill if you don't have an epic champion that could do it already. So definitely keep an eye peeled for this guy when the Fire Knights tournament ends up beginning. Now, the other controversy is there is another Summon Rush event that actually is going to be happening with this fusion. And originally when they released this fusion calendar, a lot of people reported to me that it wasn't actually the case. They didn't have this Summon Rush 2 right here. There was another event instead, And so what happened is a lot of people used their shards and resources thinking that there was only one summon rush. And you can see how that's a bit of a problem and a bit deceptive by Plarium. Although with the crazy stuff that they've been going through lately, you know, it's really nothing that they do. I'm kind of at that point now where nothing that they really do anymore is a surprise to me. It's just they're all over the place, and the amount of things that they've done is just absolutely insane. But there is another summon rush coming up starting on the 21st. It's a couple of days, and the important thing about this summon rush is it gives Reliquary Tender, which is needed for Fang Cleric for Rotos. So if you already have a Reliquary Tender, you don't even have to worry about it. You don't even have to use your shards at all. If you are missing Reliquary Tender or you want a copy of her because she's actually a pretty darn good champion herself, I know I did talk about her in that last video, so just a little bit of a recap. But she's mostly about her second ability, removes all debuffs from all allies, then places a 15% continuous heal. That's kind of the main highlight that makes her an incredibly powerful, rare champion, even though she is void. So whether you need her for the fusion, whether you want to just have a copy of her, or whether you want to skip out on that summon rush entirely, that's up to you. But you know, people were saying that wasn't in the original plans, and it's definitely a bit deceptive by Plarium. There's also a second event that is going to be happening for Dungeon Divers and Dragon. I don't know why specifically for Dragon. It doesn't look like there is a second Ice Golem or a second Fire Knight tournament, just a second Dungeon Divers and Dragon. But if you take a look, you'll see here, these are at the very end of the events list here. These are all going to be taking place after the Champion Training event has ended. So very importantly, a lot of the fusions that we've had, the Champion Training runs throughout the entire fusion. That is not the case. Champion Training ends in 5.5 days. The fusion does not end in 5.5 days. We still actually have, in order to fuse Rotos, 1 week and 5 days. So don't use the timer of the Champion Training event as the timer for the fusion, because we have plenty of events that actually run afterwards when it comes to the Valentine's fusion. So we have that Dungeon Divers 2, which starts February 23rd through the 26th, so you can either farm dungeons or you can just go back to the campaign to work on this. If you need Soul Bonds Bowyer, that's going to be available from that. And the Dragon Tournament looks like it's going to be the very last event that we have in this fusion, which is going to run from the 25th through the 26th, and it's going to give the Mirmiridan champion for the fusion as well. So we're really in that peak. This is a very important time. If you are trying to go for the fusion, you definitely want to organize the calendar, kind of have a good game plan of what you've done already, what you're working on, what you're going to skip, you know, all those sorts of things. And I definitely wanted to go over this stuff while we have a lot going on, so hopefully you guys don't get super overwhelmed, because I know I'm definitely getting a little bit overwhelmed, so I thought that I would talk about this a little bit to help you guys out. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. You know, I'm definitely spending a good part of the day. I don't respond to as many as I used to, unfortunately, but I still do read quite a bit of them. If you have any questions with the fusion or anything in specific, you guys are always welcome to join the Discord server as well. Feel free to ask either me or some of the other really helpful moderators that we have. But with that all being said, that is going to be it for the video today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did and you want to help out, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to toss a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine. And more Raid Shadow Legends videos, guides, tutorials, and all that fun stuff should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out. But if not, until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.